Hello everybody, my name is Tiffany, I'm the Tipsy artist, and today we are going live to paint this really cool warrior horse. So I'm going to shift it here, make sure we've got it all in frame. I've got a big model here in the back, and then I've got the one we're working on here today. This is the one we sell with our kits. So it's 11 by 14, and the canvas that comes with your kits has got some thickness to it. And then the one I work on is a little bit thinner, but you get the idea basically. And let me go ahead and start with the traceable. We're just going to jump right into this here. So I went ahead and jumped ahead. I've got mine done, but let's talk about how to do this traceable. So this is what comes with your kit, the transfer paper and the line arts. And I go ahead and get it centered, and then I can trace all of this. Your kit comes with a fun little color pencil so that you can see all the tracing work that you've got done here. Also the washi tape to secure it. And then let me just go ahead and flip this over, and voila. Now there's a little bit of runoff that comes out to the edge. I do have to do a little bit of freehanding for that, but not much. So I just basically extend those lines out to the outer edges there, but everything else is completely done for you. And then your kit also comes with a permanent marker, so I do a nice hard line edge around all of that work, because essentially it looks like it's graphite transfer paper, so it kind of looks like pencil basically to begin with. And you can leave it like that if you like a softer approach, or you can go ahead and use your black line work. For me, and especially for beginners, I would say go ahead and use your permanent marker. To me, that's a lot easier if you're trying to go for greater ease, especially if you're a beginner. This will definitely make your life a lot easier. And it definitely firms it all up, keeps everything in place. Especially since you have a black background here, that also is very helpful. All right, so now to get started. Okay, so we've got a little paint kit. This is what it looks like brand new, and then I've got mine out here. I've actually used a little bit of this already, so this is one that's been opened. And we're gonna go ahead and start with basically all the really pretty bright colors that are here in the center of the horse, and then I'll actually finish up with black at the very end. So I'll leave my black at the very end. And let's see, let's go ahead and start with a really pretty bright turquoise color. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with some Viridian. Let's bring that a little bit closer. And I'm gonna place this out on my plate here. So we'll do a little dollop of that. And let's see here. And then let's also do some titanium white. Get a little bit of that. And then some primary cyan blue. All right, now, your brush kit, this is your lovely brush kit, and I'm gonna go ahead and just start with my little buddy brush here. It's 1/4 inch flat, and I'm gonna go ahead and mix these together, about 3 equal parts. Let's push all those colors together. Let's add a little bit more white. There, that lightens it up quite a bit. And that will bring you to a very beautiful turquoise to begin with. That is very pretty. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and place in some of our turquoise design work here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my little stripes with some turquoise. That's a nice fit right into that shape. And then we've also got some feather work that I'm gonna go ahead and position that into as well. So we have a little bit of a chevron pattern here. And holding the brush, so when you're doing a flat side of the brush, that will fill into a larger area. And then the nice, wonderful thing about Little Buddy is you can also apply a little bit of some firm pressure here that still loads up the brush with paint, but it also kind of squeegees it out into a nice fine point. And then you can go ahead and just hold it like you would hold a pencil. And this will allow you to get into some really thin areas and have a lot more control. I'm going to go ahead and do another little section here with that turquoise, and then we'll do the same thing this section here of a feather. All right, there is that. Taking a look around here. I have a few little leaves that I did in here too, so I need to switch brushes. I'm going to take my little buddy brush. I'm going to go ahead and place it into my bucket of nearby water. Kind of spin it round and round and round. Then release it here. I'm going to go ahead and wipe off with either napkins. Your kit comes with napkins, or you can grab a little wash rag or a hand towel. That also works really well too. If you want something a bit more absorbent, you can certainly do that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take my little bit brush and do a little twist here into the paint. So this will load up the brush, but it also twists it into a nice fine point. There it is. And then this is a great size to go ahead and position into these little, it kind of look like little tiny leaves, but I wanted a bit more of a dramatic color for the leaves. And so the shape of it basically looks like making a little parentheses and then another parentheses, and then those connect and they make that fun little shape there. And I'll do this. And all the line work that's already there, we've worked ahead again. Our line art traceable actually has all of these shapes, so again, makes it really easy for beginners. So you will have traced all this on, and then you basically just fill into the shapes. So that makes it very fun and easy for beginners. That's awesome. And hello everybody, there's so many people out there. Hello, hello. Hope everybody had a wonderful, happy Thanksgiving. We did. We got a chance to see very precious family, very precious times. We had a really wonderful time. All right. So there's that beautiful shape. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and rinse this out. And dry this off. Next color we have here is a really pretty golden color. So I'm going to go ahead and start with some cadmium yellow. You see how bright that is. It's really pretty and bright. And let's go ahead and mix this with also some primary yellow. Let's see here, I'm going to mix this up. So I'm going to go ahead and use the clean little buddy brush that I have. Just mix those two together. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and rinse this off again, clean it out, and dry off. I'm going to go back into this really bright golden color with my little bit brush for some details. So let's go ahead and do a little twist here into the paint. And then we'll work into this little section here. And if you need to stabilize your hand, this is a small area in here. So I'm going to go ahead and rest the weight of my hand on my pinky, and that will help stabilize my hand as I go into this small shape. And that little sound you hear there is my precious little puppy dog, Miss Ira. She says hello. I'm going to go ahead and reinforce that whole little curve. Push that yellow right into that. And let's go ahead and do our little wings here too. I'm going to add a little touch. I've got some white over here off to the side. I'm going to add a little bit of white. Let's lighten and brighten that up just a little bit more. And then I'm going to push this into my wings here. Add little white highlights. So this is a small little winged heart pattern here at the bottom. And again, I'm just using my little bit brush to load it up. I twist it between my fingertips. So again, that will load it to a nice fine point that helps you See how it gets really tiny there. Helps you get to a tiny little point there. And that'll give you a lot more control when you're working into these smaller little areas. And we're just working in a nice solid color in here, mixing our cadmium yellow, our primary yellow, and just a tiny little touch of white. Wings. All right, and then I still have some little stripes that I want to do up in the feathers. So I'm going to stick with my little bit brush, and we're just going to go ahead and position those into those shapes. These are tinier little stripes. Our little buddy brush is too big, so we're going to stick with this little bit brush and just go ahead and work that in. Oh, I forgot to do a little bit of turquoise down here. Or I could just go with a different pattern, I guess. Yeah, let's just keep it going here with the gold. Let's just do a little bit more gold on this one. There are no mistakes, only possibilities. That's what I always say. Seems to be applicable in many areas of our life. So, okay. Yes, we're making some good headway. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do a little tiny tip of the ear here. We have a little bit of some gold that we want to work in here as well. So I'll do just a tiny touch of that there as well. So I'm going to keep it a bit more vibrant up in this section here, and then as I taper it down to the back, then I'm going to shift to a little bit of a lighter white, touch into more of the white, and then we'll kind of drag that down and lift off with a light hand. Okay, I'm going to rinse out, and then we're going to load up with some really pretty red. Get some really pretty vibrant red happening. All right, so we will need our cadmium red. This is a warm red to begin with. So a dollop of that. And then I want to cool it off a little bit. So I'm going to push in an equal part of some primary magenta. So equal parts of those two, and I'll give you a visual on this. That will give us a cool red. All right, so there we go. We've got 2 dollops, one of cadmium red, one of primary magenta. And I'm going to take my little buddy brush, and we're going to go ahead and mix those two together, equal parts. And then that will give me a really pretty cool red. And there it is. So I'm going to use this, thin that out a bit, little buddy, and then this cool red paint. We're going to go ahead and use this with our heart here. Just hold the brush just like you'd hold a pencil. That will give you a little bit more control to begin with. And then we'll work on feathering it out a little bit and turning the handle a bit. So initially just hold it like a pencil right towards the canvas like that. And then to feather out those brush strokes, then we go ahead and turn that handle more over to the side. And then that will help us have a nice thicker coat of paint that just rests right on the surface. Feather that out. All right, now we need to work into our beautiful feathers here. So I'm going to go ahead and work in a little bit of this red. And let's do some here. It's a real easy stroke with our little buddy brush. It fits in there nicely. All right, and then on this one, I'm going to go ahead and do the top part of this red. And then this one, let's do it here on the bottom. We'll do a little section of red here. And then let's feather it out a little bit. We have a bigger section here. I'm starting to see the brush strokes. They're a little too visible, so I'm gonna go ahead and just turn my handle over to the side and then just lightly feather out those strokes there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let's see, I've also got I've got that circle around the eye. So let's keep the brush going. Again, just hold it like a pencil. Take it straight towards the canvas. And we'll just work this around in a circular pattern. Now I'm going to cut through that little eyelash just a little bit, but the beautiful thing is we've got it outlined in that permanent marker, so it will bleed through and we won't lose that shape. So we'll be able to come back in and reinforce that at the very end when we come back in with our final touches with all of our black. Move that all the way around. It's really pretty. All right, so we have our heart, we have our feathers, we've got the circle around the eye, and then let's do a little bit of some fun detail work. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my little buddy brush, rinse off a little bit here, and then dry off that brush. Then we'll come back in with our little bit brush, that's our liner, and then we're gonna go ahead and twist it into the red paint that we made. And again, this is 2 equal parts. We've got 1 part cadmium red, 1 part our primary magenta. Let's go ahead and push this into a little swirl. So it's like making a circular pattern, that spiral, and then we'll just go ahead and fill into this entire shape here. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of visible brush strokes there, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that same brush. It's still a small area, so instead of holding it like a pencil like this, I'm gonna go ahead and just very lightly kind of push this over to the side, and then that will help feather out those brush strokes. And just gives me a much more light, gentle hand, allows a lot more of the paint to just rest right on the surface. All right, then we've got a few other little areas here. I wanna do some red details. Let's see what we've got. So let's do a little bit in here. Just kind of spin those around. Little touches. You can also do a fun little dot. So I'm going to give you a technique trick on that too. So using that same brush, but this time the handle of the brush, I'm going to go ahead and dip into that beautiful red we've mixed up. All right, let's take a look at that. There it is on the edge. And so I'm going to go ahead and press down straight forward. And these make just really fun little dots all over, little polka dots basically. And what's beautiful about it is they're always very uniform and the same. If you don't quite get it the first time, you can always just reload and repress. And then kind of spin the brush, that'll spin it right back out into a nice little circle. And you can sprinkle these all around your design. Make all kinds of fun little polka dots in here. Great technique for beginners. This is a lovely little technique. So you can position a lot more of these into your work. And you can do whatever color you want. All right, lovely. Okay. Let's do a little bit more of this gold up through here. And then a little bit more of the red here. And let's do a little circle, this little half circle of red here. It contrasts nicely with the other colors that are happening there. All right. I'm going to dry off my handle, rinse out the top of my brush. And then let's talk about a little bit of this cheetah pattern that's happening. So we're going to mix up some brown next. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to mix brown. So this will be some cadmium orange. Nice big dollop of that. And then we mix just a tiny little touch of our Mars Black. So here is Mars Black. And let's just do a small touch of this. Just a little amount there. We'll start with that. We don't need that much. And I'm going to be using my little bit brush here. And let's do a little touch of the black and mix that into the orange. And you can see how that's taking it to a really nice brown. Yeah, awesome. All right, you can lighten it up by adding a little bit more orange to it. So now it's becoming a little bit more like a milk chocolate brown. At first it was like a dark teak brown. Now it's becoming more like milk chocolate, a little bit lighter. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and spin the head of the brush into that. And then we've got our little cheetah print pattern already done here. Hi Tammy, thank you so much. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and push into the middle of the little cheetah pattern. You know what, I'm gonna grab a little bit of white, lighten up that brown, just a little bit there. And by the way, everybody out there, hello again. There's a lot of people out there. And I always come back into all of the comments later and answer anybody's questions. So if you do have any, if you want links to any of this, or you just have questions about process, be sure and let me know and I'll answer those for you. And sometimes I can't see everybody who says hello, but I always do in the comments too. Here's my pretty little cheetah print. So I'm doing the little spots right in the middle. So I'm taking my little bit brush, we mixed up that lovely brown, and then I'm just pushing in a little tiny spot right in the center. And there's nothing about it that's too perfect. Again, it's just a little push and just a little fill in to the center of that. And then I'll come back in and kind of reinforce over the black. We've got that line work already done, but we'll reinforce here in a little bit. So that's a great start there. We're almost getting to the point where we can do a lot of our black work here, but we're gonna do a little bit more of the hair. So I've got this brown started. I'm gonna go ahead and continue mixing all of that. So I'm gonna mix all of that orange in with the black, so we have a lot of brown to work with. And then I've got my gold over here. I'm gonna squirt a little bit more of that on my plate though. Set that water off to the side for just a moment. All right, so here we go. We got cadmium yellow. Let's do a little bit more of that. And some primary yellow. Okay, now I've got my mama brush this time. Poor mama, I usually use her all the time. We're about to use her a lot with the black in the background. But I'm gonna go ahead and push pretty firmly into this cadmium yellow and the primary yellow. Get that loaded up. And then I'm gonna start to just reinforce some of this horsehair over the top. I'm gonna continue on with the little bits of detail we have here. Let's get that all filled in. And then the little bit of wispy hair that comes in over the top. Little curve there. And then with this, we're gonna go ahead and start right at the top of the back and then just barely kind of go down like almost like a shape of like a little parentheses, a soft parentheses. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just lift off with a light hand. So this is our little bits of the mane that will flow down into the design. And it flows right over the top. So we're gonna start with our lightest cadmium yellow, pushing into both of those, cadmium yellow and our primary yellow. Again, starting at the very top of the back of the horse and then just pull that down and then lift off with a light hand. And again, that basic shape is like a big parentheses. All right, so we have that brown mixed up. So I'm gonna go ahead and push into a little bit of it. And we're gonna go ahead and highlight up here at the top, and the paint is still wet. So we're gonna just drag it all the way through that brighter yellow that we have here. So this is going to create a little bit of that lovely shadow that happens. And darker strands of hair that run through the mane. And you get a nice soft blend in with that golden hair too. So it's a nice look. And again, it just goes right over the top. And then I'll just add a little bit of that same touch of brown just through these little sections in here. Still holding the brush just on the line edge. Just like that. Now I'm going to apply a little bit of some firm pressure. I still want to keep my brush loaded with paint, but firm pressure now because I do need a thinner edge. So I've got it thinned out now, and then we're going to go back into that little section of hair right there. Right, quite lovely. All right, I want to create a little bit of some shadow that happens on my little heart here. Yay! Okay, so I am seeing one comment here. My daughter will love doing this one. Yay, awesome. Yes, this is a big favorite. It's always been a bestseller for many years. All right, so I'm going to take this little bit brush, going into that darker brown now, and I'm going to go ahead and do a soft outline around the wings of the heart. And basically the line work is already there with our traceable, so now you're just doing a nice little bit of delicate brushwork right over the top to help reinforce that. So again, this is that dark brown that we have mixed up, and this is with our orange, cadmium orange, and then our Mars black. So that really helps make those wings really pop right over the top there. Add some nice definition. Just nice little outline there. All right, now we need to work in our eye. And hi, Barbara, I see your comment. Miss you. All right, so we're going to continue using our little bit brush. We're going to go back into some Mars black. So a little tiny touch there of that. And we're going to go ahead and work that into the entire eye. We're going to avoid that little circle of that flash point. We did provide that shape for you with the traceable, so you can just leave it. And then if you do happen to cover over it, I'm going to show you how to make a flash point again with your brush. It's real easy. I'm going to go back into that little eyelash there, just fill it all in. All right, to make a flash point though, if you did happen to color all that in black, you take the end of the brush, go ahead and dip into the white paint. See, there it is, and then you just push straight forward right over the top. And there's your little flash point of white. And by the way, you can make little polka dots with this too. So if you're just not joining us, these are really fun. Lots of fun uses for this pattern work, and it always works out the same. It's really nice. You know, I'm gonna do a different color here. I've got some little dots there. Let's mix up a little bit more of this turquoise. And then let's dip in the bottom. And let's press straight forward, get a nice little spin. And nice color happening there. I need to dry off the end of the handle and also rinse out the brush. Yay, thank you so much. Yeah, it's one of my favorites too. I love the horses. All right, so let's see here. Let's go ahead and start to work in a lot of our, see, we can start to do, no, you know what? I've got a little bit of gray right in through here. So let's mix up a little bit of gray. So I'm still using my little bit brush. Let's do a nice big dollop of the titanium white, tiny little touch of the black. You can see how tiny that is. Just barely any black. We're making a very light heather gray. And then I'm gonna go ahead and push this into this little shape here, or to make it really easy, you can absolutely just leave this white. The gray is really subtle. And I'm letting a lot of the white of my horse just be the white of the canvas. So your canvas is just painted and primed white, so you can certainly just let the white of your canvas be your white. This just gives a little bit more of a painterly look to it. All right, now we need to come back in with some more black detail here. So I'm going to be using both Little Buddy and Little Bit. And let's get into those really tiny areas first. So I'm going to use my Little Bit brush. Let's do a little twist into the Mars Black. And let's go ahead and reinforce some of those little cheetah print designs. So it kind of makes it look like you do a little parentheses and you kind of wiggle the brush just a little bit. You don't want too much perfection here. So again, wiggle. And we're basically just reinforcing the line work that was already done and provided for you with a little traceable. But definitely coming back in with that layer of paint really helps make it pop. That little bit of texture really helps. So just coming back in with that little bit of black. There's our fun little cheetah print. And then you can do little spots of black. Vary how you position the spot though. I kind of switch and alternate the diagonal, kind of lay the brush a little bit on the side. So that's helpful. Don't make them all too uniform. So again, a little bit, you can see how the brush is just kind of laying on the side and you kind of go back and forth in a diagonal pattern. All right, so that's a nice little place to sort of end it. All right, and then we've got this little curly Q that we'll work into this shape that's already here for us. And just solid black, real easy, just work into those tiny little areas. And again, this is just Mars Black, no mixing on this. And to me, it's just easier to keep holding that brush. Again, just real simple hold, just like you'd hold a pencil. Take that little curly cue all the way around. It's just a circular pattern. And these are really fun little shapes. They kind of look like little waves. Little curly cues. Just reinforcing that pattern and then just filling it all in. And we got one more. I'm going to let a lot of that stay kind of behind the main hair that comes out in front, but we'll go ahead and just fill this in. I'm hearing a little activity over here, which means probably have a wasp flying around. So let's just hope that doesn't become more dramatic than it has to be. But I'm like, I don't know. They probably came in here for warmth because it did become very cold last night, but it's really becoming bright and sunny out right now. So maybe they're starting to get a little bit, starting to become awake. We can just stay asleep for as long as I'm concerned, but okay. We are really, okay, I've got one more little piece of black in here. I think I have all my black detail work done in here. And then I want to reinforce a few little areas with a nice black line. So my brush, the belly of it's getting a little full of paint. Sometimes that makes it challenging to do the fine details. So you want to make sure you spin it back into the paint. So again, keeps it loaded up, but also pressed out to a nice fine point. And then what I'll do here is I'll just reinforce some of these little lines. Come around. That way it maintains the color but gives a nice firm outline. And to help stabilize the hand, again, I'm just resting it on my pinky. That helps keep it stable. In case you have a little bit of a shaky hand issue, that's very helpful. And then you can also reinforce little lines in here too, just little touches. That makes that chevron print pop right back out to the front again. It's optional, it's not completely necessary. You can just kind of leave it a little bit softer, more subdued if you want. Just little tiny sketches of black. All right, we are almost to our background, real close. A little bit here. All right, good job, everybody. Okay, so I'm gonna wash off that brush. We're going to be using our Mama brush a lot now. So here's Mama. She is a 1/2 inch golden Taklon brush. I'm going to remove that excess water. She is just moist but very clean. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and push back and forth here into the black paint, just pure black paint. This is Mars black paint. And then we'll just start to work this into the background. Now when we come around the edge, we want to go ahead and use the line edge of the brush. And then getting right next to that other area that's all black, I leave a tiny little thin line right there of white. Then I'm going to go ahead and go right up next to the edge for the remainder of that shape. So again, line edge around the edges, and then we'll feather it out when we get out to the background. And then there's definitely a very necessary technique that we'll talk about for the texturing of the black. Now black's really easy in some regards because it's all the same color, so there's no mixing, but you'll notice as it dries, it can definitely dry with showing all of your brushwork patterns. You want to make sure that we have a certain pattern to it that we run all over the last coat. And so what we'll do is we'll crisscross it back and forth in little X's, just back and forth. And so that will give us some nice texture. So as it dries, it'll look very kind of painterly. You'll have that nice texture working in there, and it won't look translucent at all. It'll have really nice coverage over the surface. But it is really important to get that little crisscross action and to hold the brush parallel to the canvas, and again do that little crisscross right over the top. Otherwise, so let me show you what people normally do. So people will just start painting on like this, you know, and then they'll work into an area like this. Well, when it dries, you're going to see this transparency, and when the sunlight hits it, you'll see all those big, obvious marks, and it's not a real pretty look to the paint. So this is okay for a first coat. No harm, no foul on that. But when you want to come back in for that second coat, just take that brush over to the side and do a light little crisscross pattern all over that surface. And then this will give you a really pretty texture that will reflect light very nicely when it dries. Really improves the quality of that. All right, so I'm getting that first coat on, but I don't want it to dry like that, so I'm going to come back in and just really work on crisscrossing back and forth over the top, getting that really pretty texture in, and feathering that back out. My ruler here, scoop that out a little bit. And again, the other trick is, it's a little bit of an awkward hole, but making sure that brush is completely out to the side as much as possible. So it does feel a little bit weird, but that's also what helps give you a light, gentle hand. Right, crisscross, crisscross. All right, now we have a line edge to do. So I'm going to take this all the way around. Just hold it like a pencil. You can see it's nice and thin on the edge there, so it's really helpful. Very versatile brush. Take that all the way around. And I'm going to go ahead and cut into this hair here, but I will reinforce that hair again as a finishing touch at the very end so that it looks more natural coming right out in front over the top of the black. We'll definitely fix that. Because right now it looks a little bit unnatural, like we just sort of chopped right into it. And we want that really light, thin, wispy of hair to come back out over the top of the black. Let's do all of our thin line work all around the edge. And then we start to feather out. We're going to turn that brush handle over to the side. And crisscross it out. And if you have a bigger flat brush at home, you can certainly use a bigger brush, especially when you get out into these larger areas. But this is the brush that comes with our kit, so that's why I'm using it. This is our Mama. But on our website, we also have Big Daddy brushes, so you can buy some of those too and use those. Those are awesome. All right, little crisscross. Really pretty texture. Continue working that in all the way out to the corner. Very nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the thin line edge around this whole back side here. And then little crisscross back and forth. Working that really beautiful pattern all over the back. Little X's on the side of the brush, flat side of the brush. All right, it's looking good. All right, now I need to come back in and do that little bit of the hair. Thank you so much for the loving hearts. My mom's on here. Hello, Mother. My beautiful mom. Everybody say hi, Mary. Mary Preston is my beautiful mom. All right. Love you, Mom. All right, so I'm gonna work back in with my little bit brush and some brown and a little bit of that cadmium yellow. And then again, this is my little bit brush, and then I'm just going to sweep this back in right over the top. See how that has a nice little wispy right over the top of the black? And now that looks a little bit more natural then. Nice. I think we're all done. This is our beautiful warrior horse. So, if you need an excuse to paint a horse, this will make you feel strong and encouraged and brave. And we could all use a lot of that right now. Yes, indeed. All right, so again, beautiful warrior horse. We've done a great job. Y'all are doing a great job. You can get this on our website, tipsyartist.com. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll answer in the comments. But y'all have a beautiful rest of the day, and I will see you tomorrow.